Hi, I'm Liam. Today, I'm back with another video that I think you'll find really interesting. One of the internet's most wild and legendary stories. A tale about a student who turned a totally blank web page into $1 million gold mine, one tiny dot at a time. Now, really, think about it for a second. What is the absolute simplest, most basic idea you could possibly imagine to make $1 million? An idea so simple, it sounds kind of foolish, right? Believe it or not, that is the answer. Selling tiny individual dots of light on a computer screen, pixels. It sounds completely bonkers, doesn't it? But that is exactly what happened. Now, to understand how this crazy idea even came to be, we have to rewind back to 2005 and meet the guy behind it all. Our story starts not with some grand vision, but with a very, very common problem. So meet Alex Tew. He was 21, about to start a 3-year business degree in England, and he was staring down tens of thousands in tuition fees. He was absolutely determined to find some way to pay for it without getting buried in student loans. And then, lying in bed one night, he has his aha moment. An idea so simple and so out there that it just might work. He was going to turn a blank web page into a piece of prime digital real estate. Okay, so the concept was stunningly simple. He would create a web page with a grid of 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, that's 1 million pixels total. And his plan? Sell every single one for $1. The math was pretty easy. 1 million pixels sold meant $1 million in the bank. The mechanics were super straightforward. You couldn't buy just one pixel. The minimum purchase was a 10 by 10 block for $100. For that price, you could upload your logo onto that little square and link it directly to your own website. It was, in essence, a giant, chaotic digital billboard. So why on earth did this work? Why would anyone actually buy these pixels? Well, it came down to 3 key things. First, scarcity. There was a fixed supply of 1 million pixels. When they were gone for good. Second, permanence. Alex promised to keep the site online for at least 5 years, giving it some long-term value. And finally, the big one, novelty. This was brand new. No one had ever done it. It was a chance to own a piece of internet history. So, the site was live, but how did it go from a nearly blank page to a full-blown internet sensation? Well, it all started pretty small. The site launched in late August 2005, and the very first sales were to his friends and family. It wasn't much, just 4,700 pixels, but it was absolutely critical. It meant the page wasn't blank anymore.
It was proof of concept. It showed potential buyers that, hey, this thing is real. And this is where the genius marketing kicks in. Alex sent out a simple press release. The story of a student selling pixels to pay for university was just too good to ignore. Major outlets like the BBC and The Guardian picked it up, and from there, things just went nuclear. And the speed of its success was just incredible. Within 2 weeks of that media coverage, he'd already made over $40,000. Just 2 months after launching, he had blown past the $500,000 mark. The traffic became so immense, he had to keep upgrading his servers just to keep the site from crashing. At this point, the page became something more than just an advertising space. It transformed into this living artifact, a perfect time capsule of what the internet was actually like back in 2005. So who was actually buying this space? It was a perfect snapshot of 2005 internet culture. You had all the usual suspects, online casinos, dating sites, early tech startups, but there were also surprises, like the rock band Tenacious D, with Jack Black. The page became this bizarre and fascinating mosaic of the entire digital world at that moment. As the grid filled up, a frenzy started to build. The value of the remaining pixels just skyrocketed. It all came down to the final 1,000 pixels, and the demand was completely off the charts. By New Year's Eve, it was down to the last block. The demand was so intense that Alex realized selling them for their standard price of $1,000 would be leaving a huge amount of money on the table. So he decided to auction them off on eBay. And the final number was just staggering. That last block of 1,000 pixels, which should have sold for $1,000, went for $38,100. That's over $38 per pixel. The project had reached its absolute peak value. Now just pause for a second. Remember how this all started? The initial investment to get the whole thing off the ground was just 50 euros. That's it, just enough to buy the domain name and set up some hosting. A practically non-existent investment. And from that 50 euro investment came this result. In just over 4 months, the total gross income was $1,037,100. It has to be one of the most incredible return on investment stories of all time. So what's the crucial takeaway here? He wasn't really selling a tangible product. He was selling nothing, really, just empty digital space. But by wrapping it in a compelling story, creating that scarcity, and using some brilliant marketing, he turned that empty space into an incredibly valuable million-dollar asset. And that leaves us with a fascinating question to think about. The million-dollar homepage was a product of its time, a unique moment in internet history. But the principles of novelty, scarcity, and great storytelling are timeless. So what do you think is the equivalent of that simple, brilliant idea today? I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Take care.